This is the NR200P Max from Cooler Master. It has some nifty hardware changes from the original NR200P, the small form factor case that we all know and love so much, but the Max version actually includes a pre-installed 280mm liquid AIO as well as an 850 watt power supply. This level of cooling and power delivery should allow us to accommodate something like a Ryzen 9 7950X from AMD and an NVIDIA RTX 4090, which would essentially make this the fastest gaming PC that money can buy right now, at least at the time of filming, all inside of a case that's roughly the size of a shoebox, which is pretty impressive. Essentially, Cooler Master's intention with this product is to ensure compatibility with any high-end system a user can dream of, and that's taken straight from their website. So today we're gonna put their money where their mouth is to see if that's in fact the case.
Before we continue, special thanks to the Tezos ecosystem for sponsoring today's video. Tezos is a decentralized, energy-efficient blockchain popular for NFTs, gaming, DeFi, and art. Tezos has become super popular in the NFT space because on Tezos you can build, play, and collect NFTs, explore new adventures in blockchain development, and discover how games are being reimagined with revolutionary experiences. If you're new to NFTs, there's a ton of educational resources on Tezos.com that can help you navigate this new world of Web3 with confidence. With global brands such as Red Bull Racing, McLaren, Team Vitality, and more using Tezos, it has proven to be one of the most reliable and secure blockchains out there. So if you're ready to learn, grow, and have some fun, click on the link in the description to see where Tezos takes you.
All right, let's go over some of the intricacies and details of the NR200P Max and how it differs from the original case. So for starters, like I said, it's got that pre-installed liquid AIO 280mm radiator with a Gen 3 pump from Cooler Master, and the fans on it are 140mm sickle flow PWM fans. And they've also included fan grills on the fans that are pre-installed, which I absolutely love, so the fan blades don't get snagged on any loose cables. But that is the maximum supported radiator at the top of the case for this chassis is 280mm. That's actually more than the 240mm rad support that the original NR200P Max had. We also have a very nice 850 watt, 80 plus gold certified power supply, so really good efficiency, and this is the bare minimum I would suggest for an RTX 4090 Founders Edition. Probably not going to cut it for a lot of the board partner cards that have beefed up power deliveries that require more power, so make sure if you're going to install an aftermarket 4090 in here that you actually have enough power, that 850 is going to be sufficient. We do have some really nice pre-installed cables as well. These are pre-routed, they are sleeved and a nice black sleeving, and they're custom length. So everything's going to go to the appropriate spots, the appropriate connectors without much cable excess, which you don't typically see. If you were to buy a bare bones case like this, that's small form factor, and install an SFX unit aftermarket, then you're probably going to be dealing with a lot of excess cabling that you're going to have to find room for in a very constrained space. I also double checked, and we do have 4 6+2 pin PCIe connectors for our graphics card, so that's going to be plenty for our 4090. You do have options for 3.5-inch drive mounting. You can install a 3.5-inch hard drive right here on the top of the power supply, the vented grill, or you can mount it to the bottom of the case towards the front side. There's also 2 mounting spots for 2.5-inch drives at the front of the case, behind the front panel, just like we saw with the original, and you can also install a 2.5-inch drive onto the power supply as well if you're not installing a hard drive there. The bottom of the chassis supports 2 120mm fans, although they have to be 15mm thick. They have to be slim fans, whereas you were able to get away with the standard 25mm thick fans in the original, mainly because the motherboard is a little bit lower, as well as the graphics card. The way that the graphics card is set up here is slightly different. Rather than have your option of either mounting it horizontally or vertically, you only have vertical GPU mounting in the NR200P Max. But that's actually going to allow for greater compatibility. The reason they're able to do that is because of the new patented GPU bracket. The mounting bracket is removable. We'll take a look at exactly how that works in just a second. It's a very clever design though, so stick around for when we actually install the graphics card in the case. Another important thing to point out here is that since you only have the option now to do vertical GPU mounting, they've actually omitted that 240mm, oh no, it was a 280mm radiator bracket on the side of the case that was on the original. So that's done away with. Hopefully that won't be an issue. There is the tendency to worry about temperatures in a case that only allows for vertical GPU mounting, or if you're going to be mounting a GPU vertically in general, because it puts the fans a lot closer to the side panel. But just like the original, NR200P Max does come included with 2 side panels here, one that's completely vented with a removable dust filter, and a tempered glass side panel, which is going to be not as good for thermals, but it's going to allow you to see the insides of your case a lot better if that's more important to you. And we'll test thermals with both panels later on. Okay, can we get on with the build already, please? Yes. We've got the Asus ROG Strix X670E, that's Extreme, iGaming Wi-Fi. I don't even know. Thank you, Asus, for sending me this board, because it probably would have cost me like an arm and a leg to buy this myself. I think this is probably, what, a $500-$600 board? I don't know. But it comes with a DAC. It comes with a freaking audio DAC. I've never, what kind of board is this? This is insane. 10 plus 2-phase power design. It supports PCI Gen 5, of course. That's both on the BI-16 slot as well as for NVMe drives. I believe one of the slots is Gen 5 rated and the other slot that's on board is a Gen 4 slot. We'll be populating one of those today, although we only have Gen 4 NVMe drives available at the moment. We do have support for DDR5, 6400 speed. Of course, that would be overclocked, but that is phenomenally fast. We're gonna start with installing our Ryzen 9 7950X. This is a 16-core, 32-thread, the fastest gaming CPU on the market. Currently, Intel Raptor Lake is right around the corner. I'm very curious to see how that stacks up to this. More details on that coming soon. Now, before I actually install the memory, which is our Trident Z5 Neo RGB from G-Skill, I'm actually gonna install the CLC, the pump block onto the CPU, because I don't want these heat spreaders to get in the way. They're kind of tall. For now, we can install our 980 Pro NVMe SSD from Samsung, 1 terabyte PCIe Gen 4. Why did I just throw it away? I need to open this. I'm actually curious how the SSD mounting works on this board, because it's supposed to be vertically stacked. It says that the SSDs, the M.2 drives here, are vertically stacked. I need my small screwdriver. Just follow me over this way. We're running over here. Wait, where's my little screwdriver? Where's my SSD screwdriver? Ian, this is all your fault. I know you hid it from me.
I didn't touch it.
Liar. I have another one that's just, you know, tucked away. I just have to get it out. Just lazy. I'll just do it. I don't know where the hell it went. Thank you, iFixit. So like I said, these M.2 drives are allegedly stacked vertically. I'm very curious to see how Asus has pulled this off. Okay, so you can kind of take a closer look here. There is one slot. That's our Gen 5 slot right there. But I think you can actually take off this. Oh, whoa, look at that. And there's another M.2 slot, Gen 4, right below it. That's super trippy. Oh, I see how they did it. See, there's gold contacts right here with a PCB that gets wired to that top Gen 5 slot. And that goes right into this connector on the board. That's wild stuff. Asus be wildin'. All right, SSD's there. Now we can move on to installing the motherboard in the case. Looks like most of our cables are out of the way. We should just be able to lower this in. Woo! Just got a little snagged on the Wi-Fi connectors at the back of the board, but that sets really nicely. All right, let's screw this down before it flies away. Case also includes a PCIe Gen 4 riser cable for your graphics card. Kind of essential also, since you only have the option for vertical GPU mounting in here. AM5. Good on AMD, by the way, for making the AM5 socket backwards compatible with AM4 coolers. Otherwise, we would be in trouble. So nice that the tubing for the AIO is just the perfect length. The pump block basically it reaches the CPU perfectly. Cooler Master does include some thermal paste. We're gonna go ahead and apply that. Oh, that came right out. A little heavy-handed on the application today, but that's okay. Push this down. CPU and cooler are installed. Got our DDR5 in here. This is 6,000 speed. We have 32 gigs. Why is this not going in? There. Okay, so at this point, it seems like all we need to do really is cable management and installing the graphics card. And that is one of the benefits of the NR200P Max, is that half the system is already put together for you. So if you're just looking for a streamlined experience, something to consider. Bonus points to Cooler Master if there's a fan splitter on the radiator fans, which does look like they've done. Yes, good job, Cooler Master. Oh, front panel connectors. Forgot to mention, we've got 2 USB 3.1 Gen 2 ports, I think. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong with the annotation. Reset button, power button, and combo audio jack. No USB-C on this guy. That would have been kind of nice. Cables, 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 cables. Look at that. Like this is the length of the 24-pin cable. The custom length cabling is chef's kiss. Thank you very much, Cooler Master. Combined front panel connectors so that they're all grouped together. You don't have to plug them in individually. And if I could just find out where front panel header is on the board. Hold on a gosh darn minute. And I can't find the front panel header. Okay, I think this is the first time I've ever had to do this, but I'm gonna look up where the front panel header is in the manual. Oh, there's an ROG FPS 2 card. Huh, that's why I wasn't seeing any SATA ports on the board either. They're probably on here. Ahaha. We've got 2 USB Type-C ports, SATA ports, 2 SATA 6 gigabit per second ports, and then we have our front panel connector, 2 USB 2.0 headers, and it looks like a clear CMOS, and then this switch. Is it a BIOS switch? Oh, I see. That's what those USB-C ports are for. And there's 2 USB-C male ports or headers on the board. So it just kind of slots in like that, straight onto the board. Damn, Asus is getting so fancy these days. Front panel connectors connected to the FPS2 card, and FPS2 card going in here. I was planning to actually install a 2.5 inch and a 3.5 inch drive in here, but seeing the design of this FPS2 card on the motherboard, it makes the SATA ports really difficult to get to. There's only 2 of them on there, and they're directly facing the power supply with not much clearance. Like you could probably get a SATA cable or 2 in there, because they do have right angle SATA cables, which would be perfect in this case. However, if the connector on this PCB is not facing the right way, oh, yep, why would they do that? So come here, see, look, these are the 2 SATA ports, and if they were upside down, then I could easily have a right angle SATA connector or cable just like that. But this is not going to cut it. And if I used a flat connector, like that, there's not enough clearance. There's just not enough clearance. This is like a huge design flaw, actually. They should have put these SATA connectors side by side and flipped them 180 so that users could actually use right angle SATA cables with them in a cramped case like this. But now we can't even use any SATA based drives. That's crazy. That's okay. The board's only like $600, so. Oh boy. All right, well, gotta make do. Okay, so I went to go ahead and plug in our HD audio front panel connector and realized that this board does not have an HD audio header on it, which is the first time I've ever seen that on any motherboard ever. Ian and I have deduced that it's because this board comes included with a DAC. So Asus is just kind of forcing users to use this for all of their audio needs, which also includes a USB-C cable, USB-C to Type A, that goes to the back of the motherboard. It plugs in. There's actually a dedicated USB-A port on the back, and then from here there's audio inputs, outputs, SPDIF out. You can also flash your BIOS directly from this. There's another USB-A type port on here. Load your BIOS onto the flash drive, stick it in there, and I believe if you hold this down, you can flash your BIOS that way. That makes sense because there's no BIOS flashback on the actual rear I/O like you usually see on these high-end boards. It's all done through here. Volume knob and PBO, Precision Boost Overdrive. I don't think that's what that stands for. Oh, and it's also magnetic, so you can stick it to the outside of your case if that's your thing. But we did also, actually Ian looked up the manual and found out what that auto switch was on that FPS2 card. It's actually a switch for you to change the PCI Express version of the by16 slot from 3 to 4 or 4 to 3. That's actually super handy because if you have a PCI Gen 4 card, but your PCI slot is wired for Gen 3, then sometimes you don't get a post and you're not even able to get into the BIOS to switch it to Gen 4. So having that hardware switch on hand is really nice because not everyone has, a Gen 3 card. You would basically have to have a Gen 3 card to slot it in just to change that BIOS setting to get your Gen 4 card working. So really handy there. Honestly, there's good things about this board that I really like, some innovative things, and just some really weird, awful things, like those SATA ports just not being able to be used in a case like this. And it's really not even an uncommon scenario that you would find yourself in because most people who are using an ITX board like this one are probably gonna be building inside of a smaller compact case like this one, where you're not just gonna have a whole lot of clearance for things like that. So at this point, we're ready for graphics card installation. Oh, actually, sorry. Let me install our riser card. Sweet. So there are 4 screws that you have to remove in order to remove the GPU bracket. And then it just pops out like so. And then you mount the GPU to the plate. Where's our big boy? Okay. Like so. What Cooler Master has basically done here is they've applied the same sort of concept of a removable radiator bracket or a removable power supply bracket to a graphics card, which I think is a really smart move. And not only does that make the process of installation a lot easier, like I said earlier, it also allows for greater compatibility. Because when you just have to try wedging a graphics card into a case like this the usual way, you just can't get the right angle on it. But with this, the angle is completely free You can just slide it in directly from the back. There we go. Perfect. Super easy. And we still even have like about an inch of clearance, if not an inch and a half, in front of the GPU. I probably should have plugged this adapter in first. Maybe I can fit it in here. I think I got it. I will say, it'd be really nice to eventually get an ATX 3.0 power supply that's SFX with a single 12 volt high power cable going straight to this GPU, rather than having to use this bulky adapter. But as you can see, we actually still have plenty of room for all this. It's just a little less graceful. Last step here is to just plug in the riser cable, or plug in the GPU to the riser cable. And just like that, the world's fastest gaming PC, inside of a shoebox, is complete. Let's fire it up. All right, we're trolling around in Cyberpunk 2077 at the moment, and we're using the vented side panel on our system. We'll switch to the tempered glass panel in just a moment. We're giving it 4K with ray tracing set to ultra, and at the moment, DLSS is disabled. It is not on right now. I'm gonna show you guys what the performance uplift looks like when it is enabled. However, we don't currently have DLSS 3 available just yet for Cyberpunk. That's not gonna come out until, I think, a week from now with the next update. So at least I can show you guys the before and after of DLSS off versus DLSS 2. You can see right now our frame rates are not that impressive. We're getting well under 60 FPS. Pretty typical of what we've been seeing in this game, even on the highest end cards available. But right now, our temperatures are actually looking pretty good, anywhere between 70 and 73°C on the RTX 4090. That's actually the hottest it's gotten so far in the 30 minutes I've been been playing the game, is 73°C, which is not too bad at all, especially when you consider the size of the case and the fact that we're not using those bottom fan mounts for additional airflow. You can see that we're hovering around 2715 megahertz on the GPU core clock at the moment, near 100% utilization, and it's pulling around 400 watts from the wall at the moment. That's just the GPU. And we've seen the RTX 4090 peak up to around 450 watts power draw. And if you combine that with the 7950X at around 250 watts peak, that's 700 watts total. So clearly the 850 watt unit that's in here, the power supply has plenty of headroom. On the CPU side, we can't actually see the temperatures right now on the Afterburner HUD, because I don't think Afterburner has proper reporting yet for the 7950X. I think it's just too new of a CPU. But right here you can see we're averaging around 85°C when we're in game, with a maximum so far of 92°C. That's totally normal. The 7950X operating at 95°C under load is perfectly normal behavior. We've heard this countless times from AMD. Nothing to be alarmed of there. And it really just seems that the cooling and the power delivery of the NR200P Max with its pre-installed AIO and power supply seem to be handling the very high-end components we have in this chassis just fine. Before I eat my words though, let's swap out the vented side panel for the tempered glass one and see what happens. All right, so I've been gaming for another 15 minutes or so just to let the CPU and GPU get to its new heat soak level. And right now the GPU, I just looked at hardware monitor, is at 77°C max. That's on the RTX 4090. There's been no change on the CPU max temp. It's still at around 92°C. So altogether, if you were gonna build this exact system and you were wanting to use the tempered glass side panel but concerned about the thermals, I would say go for it. If you're really that concerned and want to bring the temps back down to what we were seeing with the vented side panel, then slap in a couple 120mm, 15mm thick slim fans at the bottom of the case, and that should help you get back down to those levels. Altogether, this is a fantastic system. It's just performing so well in every area. Well, I guess except for frame rates, right? So why don't we go ahead and turn DLSS on. This is gonna be DLSS 2. Let's do balanced. Let's see what that brings us to. Over 100 FPS. We were struggling to hit 50 FPS. We literally just doubled our frame rate. And this is with DLSS 2, guys. Once DLSS 3 comes out for this game, it's gonna be ridiculous. I mean, 100 FPS is ridiculous already, as is, when you consider that we just were so far from hitting this with the last generation of GPUs. And I even saw that article about the Redditor who got DLSS 3 working on his RTX 2070 in this particular title and was also able to double his frame rates, which kind of makes you go, wow, that's super cool, but also screw NVIDIA for locking that feature to the RTX 40 series, because it would just breathe new life into so many gamers' older GPUs. And for what? Just for a money grab when it's so easily implemented. It's just a software lock that NVIDIA put on those older cards. But anyway, getting off topic here, this is just phenomenal performance across the board. And it's really cool that the new Ryzen chips launched alongside the RTX 4090. Usually you get a new GPU or a new CPU that comes out, and you have to kind of wait for the next generation of that other component to come out to really see what the generational uplift is between both parts. But here we have new CPU and GPU working together, and it's so much faster than what we were seeing just a couple weeks ago with the previous fastest gaming PC in the world, which would have been an RTX 3090 Ti and Ryzen 7 5800 X3D. As for the NR200P Max from Cooler Master, it's really hard to find much fault in it, especially when the original NR200P was so damn good. It's still a great case, but this just improves upon it in nearly every way, I think, and also comes included with, you know, the AIO and power supply to just make the build process that much more simple. At the end of the day, what we have here is a blazing fast system with decent thermals inside of a compact, small footprint. I mean, what are we compromising? Where's the sacrifice? Apart from your life savings that it would take to build this thing, this is an amazing machine that seems to do it all and leaves very little to be desired. But that's gonna do it for this one, guys. That's all I got for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to toss a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and get subscribed for more tech content on the way. Till next time, I will see y'all in the next video.